Hi everybody, welcome to 3 tips on increasing physical intimacy. So in some of my past videos, I've talked about increasing emotional intimacy first in order to really prepare your partner for physical intimacy. But today I want to talk about some of the really great ways that you can increase physical intimacy, whether it be sexual or non-sexual, but leading to a more powerful connection and a more powerful sexual connection between you and your partner. So before we get into it, my name is Dawn Bennett. I'm a best-selling author of The Touch Crisis, and I've been helping people heal their relationships for over 23 years. So key number 1, know when and how your partner wants to be touched. So the problem that I see is that we all know how and when we want to be touched. Right? When do we want a hug in the morning? When do we want a little pat on the back? When do we want a little bit of a snuggle? But we forget to tune into what it is our partner wants. So a good time for us may be not such a good time for our partner. Have you ever had someone come up and, touch your shoulder, touch your back, and you're just like, oh, I don't really want to be touched right now? Or I'm a little bit uncomfortable, or I'm in the middle of something and it's distracting? Whether it be your kids, a family member, your partner, right? So that's why it's really important to communicate clearly how and when you would like to be touched. So for example, if you feel like the only time you get touched is when your partner wants sex, it's going to set off different triggers in your head, right? I hear that from women all the time, like, oh, my partner only touches me when he wants sex. Now, some people think that's great, right? Why wouldn't you want that if you're connected intimately with your partner? But for other people, it feels draining, like, hey, I'm in the middle of something right now. I'm trying to finish dinner. I'm trying to take care of the kids. But if you can communicate, hey, I'm just touching you to show you a little bit of appreciation. Or, hey, I want to be touched a little bit for appreciation. Can we set this aside for later? Right? It's no different than when we communicate to our partners around how we want to be talked to or when we want to be appreciated. It's about making that really deep physical connection. So that way when you really start playing, when you really start engaging with your partner, when you start realizing this is all just a beautiful lead up to something more powerful, something that you both want. Instead of being like, oh, I'm being touched right now and I am not ready right now, you can shift it a little bit. Right? You can say, that feels really nice. Thank you for touching me. I need to finish this before we move on. Play with it as if it's a little bit of foreplay. Play with it as if it's just a way to physically connect before sex. Take it as a bit of pleasure. Because pleasure is really the key of all that we're doing, right? It's not to the end goal, the end result. It's about pleasure along the way, about connection along the way. So you can really increase physical intimacy by not getting triggered or upset or worried or distracted because you think that the way someone's touching you right now means that you have to go have sex right away or go get distracted from your tasks right away, right? So that's why it's really important to communicate, to take it in as pleasure, to take it in as connection instead of a demand on you. So key number 2 to increasing physical intimacy is really connect with your partner beyond sex. So I just talked about how to communicate, right? What you want, what you need, but also spend a little bit of time. A lot of women like this, okay? Not every woman, and a lot of men like this too. I think this gets a little bit underrated, that men just want touch when there's sex. That is not true at all. I know a lot of men who also like to cuddle, who also like to be hugged, who like to be shown appreciation physically beyond sex. So if you make time for physical touch beyond sex, it can be more pleasurable for everybody. It can create that intention, it can open up the nervous system pathways, right? Because for most people, in most situations, having some kind of physical touch or physical buildup before the actual sex happens makes sex more powerful. It makes it more engaging. It makes it more playful. So find some time beyond your normal everyday life just to have some good, healthy physical contact that both of you enjoy. So the third key, and this is the most important key, is know what you want before, during, and after sexual play. So if you know that you like a long, slow buildup, that you like to get maybe a foot massage, a back massage, that you like to be snuggled, or that you like it to be really playful. Some people like it to be really, really playful, really, really powerful, really, really, they like a little bit of talk. They like a little bit of things beyond touch, right? Maybe they want the laundry to be done. Maybe they like to be shown appreciation. Maybe they like to be given a gift, flowers, made dinner, romanced a little. So knowing what you want before can really help build up and increase the pleasure all along the way. Because so many people, because of the way that our culture is these days, right? And this is one of the problems I see. Our culture shows sexuality and sexual play as just something that happens in the bedroom. But really the connection is all made outside. So whether that be doing something intentional, making a date of it, right? You hear people talk about you should have a date night. And especially once you have kids or once you have a busy life, busy work, right? When we're dating, we often say, okay, here's the time, the day that we're going to get together. Here's what we're going to do. You can still do that when you have a stronger relationship, when you're married, when you've been in a long-term relationship, a long-term partnership. Still making time to say, okay, here's what we're going to do today. Here's where I want to set aside time for you and really communicate clearly beforehand. I want to do dinner. I want to have some snuggles on the couch. Or I want to go play a game. I want to go for a walk. I want to go for a hike. I want to move my body, feel like I'm out in nature, get rid of the stress of the day before we start interacting, because I need a way to discharge all my stress before I have the time to really properly and intensely interact with you. So do you see how that can make your actual connection in the bedroom more powerful, more intentional? Because if it doesn't feel like another task that you have to do, now it becomes connection. It becomes something for the both of you. Something that you can give and receive equally. It's not just something, it's not a duty. It's not something that you have to do because you're in a relationship. So check out my video also on roles and where we pick up these roles and how it influences how we interact with our partners. Because as I said, the third key is really about finding out what you want before, during, and after. So during. During doesn't mean just during. It doesn't mean the drive towards the big O. It means how can it be pleasurable, the whole experience, right? If you're doing for the other, is that what the other wants? For example, Dr. Betty Martin talks about the wheel of consent. And this is really interesting. So if you're giving, let's say you're giving a certain type of pleasure to your partner because you think that's what the other person wants. and they're lying there going, oh, I really am not in the mood for this right now. You're both doing each other a disservice, because now one person's getting out of it and the other person thinks they're giving for the other person, and neither one of you is really enjoying it in the way that's connecting, in the way that's creating the long-term pleasure. So communicating. Hey, I'm a little bit more in the mood for this right now. Or hey, can you change your rate, your pressure, where you're touching, how intensely you're touching? All of these are really, really important to having strong physical connection. Because if you think you're giving your partner pleasure and your partner is not receiving that same pleasure, it's no wonder there's such a sexual breakdown in our relationships. It's no wonder that we start saying like, oh, I don't want to do that again. No wonder it feels like a duty instead of connection. Right? So that's why it's really important to communicate. And for some of us, we're taught that we shouldn't talk about it, right? It feels embarrassing. It feels awkward. And this is why I work so much with people with emotional freedom techniques. Because when we start releasing those emotions, we do some tapping to release that emotion of embarrassment or fear, we can really come and say what we want and connect authentically with our partner. And there's lots of methods to do this. It doesn't have to just be emotional freedom techniques, but getting rid of the emotions that prevent you from communicating clearly is so important. Have you ever wanted to redirect your partner and you haven't? Yeah. So that's why it's really important to get rid of those emotions. Why it's really important to ask for what you want, what you need in your partnership and in your relationship, not just in the bedroom, but beyond. So once again, the 3 keys are: number 1, know what your partner wants and needs, and communicate clearly what you want and what you need. Key number 2, find time for physical contact that's beyond the bedroom, that feels good for both of you. And those two are so tightly related, it probably almost feels like the same key, but they're actually very different, because communicating what you want and what you need versus actually making time for that. And then key 3, asking for what you want before, during, and after. And as I mentioned, it's kind of a 4th key, releasing yourself of the emotional fears that prevent you from doing those things. So if you got any value from this video at all, any ideas, please check out my other videos on emotional and physical intimacy. Hit that subscribe button and the bell. And for classes, for some deeper dives into how you can do these things for yourself, check out my events in my description page. Once again, I'm Dawn Bennett. Have a super lovely day.